it's kind of warm. Yeah. Yeah, I hope everybody having a good day, man. I hope all is well as we jump on here for another lecture, as we spin the block again to kind of embed some wisdom in our brothers and sisters. It's always a beautiful day for me, man, as we continue to build and oh, man, that might be too. That's all right. Peace, Noble Lamarck. Peace, Noble Brian. But like I said, I always like to come on here, man, and share things with my family and just anybody that's interested. You know, first off, I give gratitude to a lot of the college students that I deal with, especially my muftis, of course. I always give honors to you guys. You always know that. But I just have to give a special shout out to Grand Canyon University, and I have to give a special shout out to Peoria Community College. I have to give a shout out to Arizona Christian College. You know, because a lot of the students and the staff allow me to speak, and a lot of them been looking me up. Was like, oh, you alumni from GCU. Oh, you a lecturer. Or you've written these books, blah blah blah. You know, would it be okay for you to mentor students and help them graduate and help them write in APA format? I'm like, of course. You know, when I tell people, man, there's nothing wrong with our brothers and sisters that's having an expertise. We all don't have to be basketball players or people out of prison on the internet acting like we can make you something or have you file some paperwork. You know? And so I'm just happy to be in a culture of brothers and sisters that look beyond the veil of of color per se and deal with wisdom. And I tell everybody I'm in Arizona. I'm from Flint, Michigan. You know, a lot of things I've turned down to still be able to, you know, do some of the things that I love to do. You know, we always talking about our children getting a great education, and I ask anyone if they have any children, what do you want your kid to grow up to do if they're not interested or if you don't have a family business? You want them to go get a good education. You want them to be the best person that they can be. You want them to be better than you, I would hope. So if that's the case, why aren't we teaching that not only to our children, but to ourselves and dealing with those that's done these things, that know about organization, and we really jump into it and to where we can have our own community. Not when I say a community of you're better than someone else like a lot of religions do. As you see, because I said to be on social media and do what I'm doing or anyone else doing, when anybody can just jump on here and say whatever they say, one, you have to one be passionate about what you're doing, and then you have to understand the psychosis of people. You know, everybody don't have to like what you're doing, but at the same time, if you're passionate and your heart is pure, you're going to do that regardless. And for the other side of myself, I was able to go to academia, and everything that I've talked about or discussed here on social media, I was able to discuss with professors and my fellow college students. You know, even when I was getting my undergrad in business management with a minor in marketing and sales. You know, I always tell people it's a certain way and it's a certain system where things can be done. That's why a person that's heart is pure is never going to lead no one in no burning house. It's never going to come with some get rich quick scheme or some Ponzi or some pyramid scheme and continue to try to reinvent themselves and their brothers and sisters. Why? Because if I have something that was universal, I should be able to take that to people that's not poor, that's not on welfare, that's not spending their money on clothes and entertainment and food, and deal with people that have the money to invest instead of trying to build people up and convince them to do something that they're, you know, and I know is not valid. That's why you don't go outside of this community. If you look at the misnomer black community now, we have to be honest. What do we see on social media? You see a lot of gurus saying they can do this, file this, file that. All these people been reinventing themselves. Now they all together doing this. Bobby Hemmings said early in the 2000s that it's something wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? And it's still happening today. And I ask all of grown people, what is that doing for you? How your lives changed? You know? And so, once again, when I have these discussions of history and spirituality, especially for a lot of melanated people, we get so caught up in belief system and we diss culture and we start saying, oh, this cult, this. But once you understand etymology and history, culture is cult. You have to have a culture. That's why when we were easily colonized, we had culture already. The Asiatics, we already had our brotherhood. If I can show you this all through history. So it was no reason to be colonized or brought something that you already had internal. When we're talking about spirituality, when I say one nationality and many cultures, we don't diss spirituality. Just like when I talk about Credo Matua. Y'all ever heard of Credo Matua from the Zulu? And he talked about the reptilian. Well, why did he have to go in exile? And the European David Icke made millions off his wisdom. It's so much wisdom. When I tell brothers and sisters, we don't diss wisdom. When I talk about Sheikh Abdul Bamba, you know, the past of the Sheikh, Ibrahim Fall, Babur Mordines. They were Moors. They were Mordines. They were Moors. They were Mordines. As I teach, Sufis. When I deal with my elder, they say, a person like yourself can go anywhere where there's people at and be what? A holy man and be a medicine man. Why? Because you'll be able to bring the people up. That's what it's about. You know? I mean, it's rich history. And we don't let no one come to tell us or make us say what it is and what it's not. You know? When it's clear, when we're talking about history, I mean, even when I talk about the Ashua Aligua and the Alagbara or the Santeria and the Orisha and the crosswords, when you start researching the Bible and when you start researching your culture, you're going to be it's saying the same thing, but you missing it because the first thing you see about yourself, you don't like yourself. Because all through European and Negro-centric history and spirituality, you've been told that it's some curse of Ham and your black skin is a curse. You've been fooled. And when I get the etymological dictionary of words, especially black, your whole mind will have a backflip. And this is scholarship. When I talk about Santeria and the Orisha and all and everything that does with culture, we don't diss culture. When we talk about revealing America's dark-skinned past, I mean, culture goes through. When we talk about David McRitchie, the ancient and modern Britons, I just wanted to set a precedent as we deal with this science. We even had the Orthodox, Ethiopian Orthodox, the Tuhito faith. And then when you get ancient dealing with the Orthodox, or the first century so-called Christians, you know, they symbol was the Ankh. But they take your wisdom and make everything about you evil. And you still haven't caught on yet? You still haven't caught on yet. Watch this. I'm going to show y'all something before we jump into this. Because this is very simple. This is nothing. This is a lecture. When I ask my brothers and sisters, if you've been to a lecture, especially if you came to college campus and saw me lecturing, I would hope it would be in a form of a respect. And if you like the lecture, you'll give a donation. Most times, if you don't give a donation, you can't get in. But I love what I'm doing. And so when I give a lecture, it's not for a group of people to ask me a million questions outside the subject. Or, well, what do you believe in? This is your religion. That's not, shouldn't even be your concern. Your concern is the history and seeing what it's about. Because if it's not, then I'm not talking to you. Just like if you was taking a philosophy or religion class. Just like if you was taking a civics class with me. Just like if you was taking a introduction to civil law with me. You know, just like if you were taking philosophy of religion. You can't come in there with your religious dogmatic perspective, you know, and try to have a conversation. And we talking about the philosophy of it. And you getting into a belief system, aka a belief system, believing in something that can't be improved. That's not what we're here to do, and I'm not here to debate. So let's proceed. Oh, dang. Peace, Brian. So, I want to show some pictures. Will y'all see this picture right here? Look at that picture right there. See, we're going to tell the real biblical story. And when I tell people, I say, man, you can't get mad at me. Why? Because I got a degree in biblical history and Christian leadership and first century history, religion, and linguistics. That's why. And I'm telling people, we've been taught wrong. We've been taught all the way wrong. This is what I tell my melanated people. We've been taught wrong. And our brothers and sisters that go to seminary that won't teach the truth, the Bible talks about the lying pastor and the lying lawyer. It talks about it. You know? And won't tell the truth. And I say, well, that's why you must be a scholar of biblical history. You must know hermeneutics. You must know linguistics. You must understand all of it to be able to say, wait a minute now, we're not going to let this happen. Why? Because if we're biblical students of this and if we're ministers of the Gospels, then 1 Thessalonians 5:21, prove all things and hold fast to what is good. When you go to Russian icons, when I say Russian icons, that didn't click. When you get one of the most prolific books in academia, in a preface, it tells you all universities should have this book, especially historical universities, especially universities that is prophetic in wisdom. And I have that book, and that book cost thousands, and we reproduced it and made it available for our brothers and sisters as an ebook, PDF, and we printed and buying it. And that book cost stacks, and it show you, it's like, listen, it's nothing to argue. It's checkmate. Why? Because who? The Russian icons are the biblical first century church fathers. That's why. Any person with any sense will tell you that. You can go to the Catholic Church when they had a Greek festival. They might not let you in the back like they let me do, and you will see all the so-called pictures of Jesus and apostles in gold, but they all melanated. And then if you really have a association or know someone, they'll take you in the back where you will see Artemis, and you will see the Sibyls that the Catholic Church have. I'm telling you, these is facts. It's nothing to be arguing about with brothers and sisters. Be like, well, are you this and all that? I said, man, I believe in the truth of the scriptures, just like every spiritual person do. I don't care if you are Islam, Muslim, whatever. You believe in the truth of the scriptures, just like I do. If you don't, then I'm not here for you. I'm not here to argue of your religion or that or none of those things. But when you see so-called Paul's third journey, the riot to Ephesus, and what you see, the god Artemis, melanated. And then when you read in Maccabees how the Gentile, the heathen, tried to whitewash themselves in the history books, and they changed this. And you were wondering what he was going to do in these certain areas. When somebody try to say your culture or your history is pagan, when you already have a culture, we all better follow what I'm saying. Why you think the Catholic Church pray to have the mother and the son and the son in their hand? I mean, I hope we seeing this. You see all them breasts on the god Artemis? You see the god Artemis melanated? I hope y'all follow me. I don't have time to speak too deep on it, but it's right here. It's in this right here. This book probably cost a grip on Amazon. It was $1,000, but I get stuff given to me. And I used to go to Goodwill when I used to just sell refurbished spiritual books when I was getting my dual master's degree. And I paid for it, doing exactly this, selling books. And now we able to do it on the mainstream. But I don't want to talk too deep on that. But if you don't know the history of that, you should be like, wait a minute. That's the god, that's the statue of Artemis, the earth goddess, linked with wild nature, was made in the 2nd century AD, was discovered at Ephesus. The protuberance on the statue may represent many breasts, or perhaps the ova of the sacred bee. The temple of Artemis was a vast structure, 4 times the size of the Parthenon in Athens. It had 127 columns, each 60 feet, 18 meters high, adorned by the most gifted sculptors of that day. The temple housed an unshaped icon of the goddess. This was believed to be of divine creation, since it had allegedly fallen from the sky. Then they say the court. The court is culture. The court is culture. Don't let nobody get you caught up. See, they said court. So what? Culture. If you're a scholar, you're educated, you will know what they're saying. They're not evil about your culture. Had a long history at Ephesus, dating back to pre-Eon, you know? Man, let me get all these, we got to move all these trolls. But they don't be talking about nothing. Every time I get trolls, I'm blocking them. From now on, I'm not even going to respond to it. That's why my noble hit me up last night. He was like, man, you need to let me be your moderator so I can get all trolls and we can share this. We going to block them and we going to put their face on there. I said, no, we don't got to do that. We just block them. We don't even want, no, we ain't even going to deal with that. We ain't going to use the same negative energy. We just going to block it and proceed. But we definitely going to say something. I'm going to start calling out their handle, matter of fact. But the temple housed an unshaped icon of the goddess that was believed to be of divine creation since it had already fallen from the sky. The cult had a long history at Ephesus, dating back to pre-Ionian worship of the Antinolian mother goddess in mainland Greece. In Greece, Artemis, mistress of the animals, appeared as a virgin huntress. What my noble said, he said, yes, please, brother, block all trolls. Please. I'll make you, I think I can let you be moderator. Hold on. I'll figure it out as we go on. So I just wanted to show that, you know, so you can get into your head what was happening. When people saying, oh, this history, but you already had something, you know? That this is what I'm saying. And when I was in academia, when I was getting my dual master's degree, that was one of the things that was always an issue with different nationalities, you know, upset. Because what they say they profess when you open up the text and the language is totally different of what you've been told, even from your own people that look like you. And that's why a lot of individuals be butthurt. When I say I don't care about no person's belief system, but we cannot have the same a book in our hand and come up with something different and then say it don't matter. And then say none of it matter. You know? And then when you see the whitewashing, you know? Then when you see the whole whitewashing of things, when you start seeing culture of things. So, this is something right here. The theft of African prophecy by the Catholic Church. Just like when I talk about the Igbo or the Igbo of Nigeria, when I showed y'all, when I was getting my dual master's degree from Grand Canyon University, I met one of the Europeans that went to Igbo land. I showed y'all the whole document of what they showing. I mean, and that's why I be saying white people are upset. You know, we should be appalled, you know, but we shouldn't be upset, because if truth has no sides and we say this is that, you shouldn't be upset of what the science says. When a group of people, have did so much to say a group of people never did nothing in history, and say a whole people came from the continent of Africa as slaves, and I'm saying that's totally false. You can get the one world Tartarians. I already lectured this in college, and I can show you if we believe the archives tell you it don't even line up. None of it. So this ain't no one sitting up here having a disagreement. It shows that something is crazy. If a person can give you all the facts and you say, well, this is how it works, and then even people that don't look like you, that's scholars and that's educators, they'll say, well, this brother is just giving you the history of what's going on, not caring how your religious belief system is. That's not what this brother is doing. I'm giving you something to say, hey, challenge yourself and research history, especially if you think history don't consist of anyone that looks like you or any other culture besides what's been promulgated. So when we deal with the first prophetess of the Mami Wata, let's just have a little conversation of these things. I mean, even when you deal with other professors and things, they'll say, well, it's just facts. When I talk about the Vatican, divining serpent, derived from vatis, diviner, and can equals serpent. Vatican City and St. Peter's Basilica were built on the ancient pagan site called Latin Vaticanus, Mons or Vaticanus, Kali, which means hill or mountain of prophecy. So when we say the Hebrew definition, Vadik, Vadits, Vaids, a seer, prophet, soothsayer, diviner, divination, soothsayer, to act covertly, to use hidden arts, like magic, to practice sorcery, mysteries, or like we may call it, Orisha, Santeria, or the Alegba, per se. Divine means witchcraft, but witchcraft is not evil. It's all in your biblical scripture. Tell fortunes, fortune teller, bewitched, to consult a spirit of the dead, to practice magic, So when I show y'all graphics and things, all this stuff can be found in certain cathedrals. When they had a Greek festival, I'm going to go again. I went live when I went to the Greek festival last year. I showed all the pictures. I don't know who that is, but I gotta decline that call. I don't know who that is. But so, let me read the introduction to that. Munster's Geographia, 1540 edition map, showing the real ancient Babylon located in southern Egypt. So in the upper right, I don't know if y'all can see that, you will see Egypt. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Hello? Somebody playing. Well, we're going to block them real fast. But it shows the real ancient Babylon located in southern Egypt in the upper right. Babylon in Egypt has now been removed from modern maps. Munster, Munster, a linguistics and mathematician who initially taught Hebrew in Edinburgh, is generally regarded as one of the three most important map makers of the 16th century. So remember I told y'all a long time ago, all my muftis, if y'all still hear about Godfrey Higgins, remember in one of his books, Annapolis, Justin tells the Greeks that they may find the true religion in the ancient Babylonian Sibyl, who came to Cuma, C-U-M-A, and there gave her oracles, which Plato admired, Godfrey Higgins, as divine. Clemens Romanus also quoted the Sibyls in his epistle to the Corinthians. Remember? Clemens Romanus, Clemens, Romanus. Write that down, nobles, so I can make sure y'all get y'all his book. And I can give y'all the page, so you can highlight it. Send it to me in a text stream. Clemens Romanus, Clemens, nobles. Also quotes the Sibyls in his epistle to the Corinthians. They are also quoted by, write this down, Theophilus Antiochus or Antiochus, Theophilus Antiochus. And I got all these already. You know, I'll make sure y'all get them. I just want y'all to write them down. It's also quoted by Theophilus Antiochus, St. Augustine, and Flowers, Godfrey Higgins, you know, on page 747. It's right there. Fact check me. It's not surprising that the Sicilian terracottas, which we have seen, embrace so large a field of Oriental, East African, Egyptian, Greek, and Roman mythology, should also contain illustrations of oracular beings and virgin pagan prophetess who played an important part in the rise of Christianity, whose books were largely used by the ancient fathers of the church against the pagans, and whose prophecies did not fall before the light of a new religion, you know? Yep. For nearly 4 centuries after the event of Jesus. Research William Baker. All this stuff can be fact checked. I did this in academia. So when you think outside of the Western paradox box, hold on 1 second, y'all. Let me do something real fast. Hold on, let me do something real fast. Give me 1 second. It won't take me long to do this. I apologize. 1 second. All right, there, I'm good. All right, apologize, y'all. I had to take care of that. Apologize, Brian. But let's give a little preface of this wisdom. Thinking outside the Western paradoxical box, the idea that African religion, traditions, ritual practices, social customs, divine prophecy, and fundamental beliefs once dominated both the secular and the non-secular world in ancient times seems hard to imagine. Even more, the notion that African women, the oldest human beings on the planet, laid the theological foundation for Judaism, Hinduism, Christianity, and Islam under the auspices of the black matriarchs seems even more incredible. Even when you Anta Diop, when I show you all the books, it's right there. But then, of course, no disrespect, those that want to have a problem of it but can't discredit the wisdom always have something to say. Considering the status of African women around the world, one could hardly be convinced that the matriarchal presence and the enormous influence she wielded in ancient world have far exceeded the limited physical, cultural, geographical, and political designations of which Africa and her religions are confined today. One could hardly imagine, too, that African religions have reached very high levels of theological and ritual development, and that they were the original home of the world's first great oracles, prophetess, and prophets. The absence of African women in the world history as major players, as opposed to exceptions to the norm, or mere appendages of great men, has been problematic and disturbing at best. That's why these preachers won't talk about Ruth the Moabitess and Tamir. That why you think they won't talk about that? Why you think everything is male, and that ain't truth? Why you think they won't talk about Sophia in the Bible? Why you think they want you to be afraid of the Baphomet, and that's written Kabbalistically? All spookism. That's not no biblical context. For the first time, her story is being unearthed, revealed, and told. First prophetess in the world, the first prophetess of Mami Wata, were African women. They were called Sibyls, meaning that they were Mami Wata, priestesses and priests of the Oannes. The more advanced of this matriarchal divine order are known as Amaganes, just like in West Africa today. Or when I say the ancient Amazigians, the so-called freemen, you know? They know this. They can call up the dead and even the souls of the living. They were the ancient oracles used in ancient Greece, Roman, and Babylonian. Their prophecies are the oldest in the world. It is through the divine blood of these Sibyls, priests, that the patriarchal kingship of the pharaohs, the Hebrew prophets, and the Chaldean priests were born. Y'all know who Chaldeans were. Just because you cross the sea, you know, and in that language it's Hebrew, that don't mean who you are changed. You were Chaldeans. I'm telling y'all, these is facts. Don't get mad at me. The great Sibyl, divine oracles of the ancestors and gods. See, Webster's dictionary defines a Sibyl as a female prophet, or a woman able to utter the oracles and prophecies of a god, or a woman who can foretell the future. Conversely, under the bitter Hebrew patriarchs, the Sibyls are condemned in the Bible as Bethelaph Ab, Belath Ab, meaning evil evil serpent, spirit, or mistress of the python. The black doves, originally Holy Spirit, universally known as the black doves. The Sibyls referred to themselves as sisters of Isis, and sometimes prophetess of the black Diana. Sound familiar? The dove symbolized the sacred soul or the Holy Spirit, an Afro-mythical symbol later adopted by the Christians. It was the Sibyls matriarchal group who settled at Asia Minor, ancient Turkey, and installed Mami's worship more than 2,500 years before the Doric or the Greek and the Turk invasions. Mami, whom they knew as Lakun with her serpents, was known as the manifestation of the divine Logos, with holy temples scattered all throughout Asia Minor. Sounds like the god Artemis I just showed you, didn't it? Don't it? Don't it? Kushite Mitanni Empire and the Mona and the Mycena in Aegean Islands. Archaeological pottery shares date, and it's all in here. The black descendants of Liban, Germans, present-day U or Alatus, or the Ga Adgabi, Ga Adganbi, Gadangbe. If I'm murdering a word, please forgive me. And other African clans who had settled into ancient Babylon and elsewhere before the flood, to have arrived in Mona or Iona as early as 4000 BCE, hailed as one of the seven wonders of the world. And these sacred temples were maintained by the Sibyls and a contingent of Vestal, virgin priestess, and eunuchs. The Vatican, the original sacerdotal seat of the Sibyls. So Africans, black Buddhists, Umbrians, and black Etruscans erected civilizations in what is now Italy, thousands of years before the Anglo-Romans arrived. What is now called the seat of the Vatican in Italy was originally the sacerdotal seat of the ancient black Sibyls. As the first established, the sacerdotal, the African, the matriarchs, the Sibyls, its cultural and religious impact was arguably the most profound on ancient civilization that modern history has ever revealed or cared to admit. From Mesopotamia to Libya, Mizraim, you know Mizraim is Egypt, Kemet, Egypt, Iona, Mian, you know, Turkey, all those places. The Sibyls were primary divine Vatican and absolute moral authority. And for centuries, the Grecian islands at Delos, Dodona, Delphi, and the Temple of Mami in ancient Libya were the ecclesiastical and moral hub of religious, social, and international political activity. It was under the theocratic governments of the Sibyls as queen mothers that African matriarchal culture reached its golden age. Sound familiar? Of achievement in medicine, religion, astronomy, philosophy, law, architecture, music, art, and social sophistication. So of course we talk about healing the sick and all that, which is in your Bible, but the divine oracle basis for the Western Bible. The Sibyl's most significant contribution were the famous oracles containing the divine prophecies that would utter the transpossession. These prophecies would be carefully written down by the assistants and compiled into books. These prophetic proses were the basis for the Greek and the Roman tragedies and plays. These prophetic books were later collected by the Roman authorities and soon became the sole and the undisputed precursor to the Western Christian Bible, and will later lay the ecclesiastical foundation of Western civilization. Just when I talk about Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James, George G.M. James tell you Greek history is nothing but a stolen Egyptian history. It's just facts. What is people mad about? Over the millenniums, other Sibyl prophecies, oracles, and revelations were systematically retrieved and purchased, stolen, or haphazardly collected by various means. I call people in certain times tomb raiders. Tomb raiders, all throughout the ancient world where the temples existed. I told y'all, man, I just pray our brothers and sisters and they catch on so we can have some of our own. So we don't get caught up in all when people just laughing at us behind our backs and we just say we go to church because we like to singing and dancing. But do you go to Bible study? And do you go to Sunday school? And is it building in the community? Or are you just going to church on Sunday? See, it's a big difference. It's a big difference. Do you have any culture? It's a big difference. Do you love yourself? It was the books that will later be plagiarized, revised, or altered, and compiled into the holy books known as the Sibylline oracles. I had to tell a brother, just like I know some Al-Islam Muslim brothers I said, I don't know no gangster Muslims. And a lot of people, brothers, they go to prison, they come out Al-Islam Muslims, but still be selling drugs and killing. Or hating on someone else. I said, dude, we got to rise above some man-made religion. And this is no disrespect for no one else. I'm saying a prophet and an angel come from amongst your own brothers and sisters. They would later become the center of the bitter, doctrinal, or hearsay worlds between the war, the Levitical Jews, and the emerging Roman Vatican authority. You know? As the African matriarch powers began to decline, and her colonies taken over by foreign conquerors, it was the thrones and sacerdotal power and prophecies of the Sibyls that was stolen from them by the emerging Roman Church. And their religion were later labeled as pagan heathen under a now racial Roman authority. That's why you get these misnomer black preachers, they be talking about a woman that had no power in the Bible, but then they say this holy ground. What, some building some Negro built? The first lady that brought the Gospels, we being prejudiced, talking in this, a woman don't have no place. I said, okay, well, if a dude don't have no place and you dealing with a whole bunch of jacklegs, I'm dealing with the woman. We always try to tell a woman they don't have the place. Why? If they delivering the wisdom, if a whole bunch of brothers ain't into the wisdom, if she's being under the auspices, what's wrong with us? We let other people tell us our culture is not right. The emerging Roman Church in the ignorance and ambition acquired the doctorate and the Levite Jews' corrupt version of the civil prophecies until one can hardly distinguish one forgery from the other. Just like when I be telling my brothers, we done got into a prejudice dissing the women. So what you mean, man? Where do you come from? The Immaculate Conception is your mama having your birth in 9 months. What are we talking about? Why would we diss the woman? You can't even have a clear understanding of that. That's not even biblical. And then Sophia is the female counterpart of wisdom in your Bible. But you let all these people get you caught up with some devil, some spookism. That's why the Bible says, woe to you lying pastors. Because if it's factual, they should be able to show you biblical content, not make things up to get you caught up in a fear system, which most of our people do. I'm gonna show y'all some little history of African matriarchal principle divine complementaries of all through history of pictures. Just like a lot of stuff I have on, we let people tell us all our science is scary. Your culture, they strip you of your culture and then they pick it up and give you Bible. And then if you understand linguistics, it's all your science, and the Bible tells you this. The Bible talks about a prophet, a seer. All those are good for the build them up of God's kingdom. You need all those. Like I'm saying, we don't know no oral tradition. We haven't talked to our great grandmamas. We let somebody else tell us who we are and draw a line down our back. And when you start dealing with first century history and Europeans, Herodotus, and all those first century historians, you'll be like, wait a minute, she's been telling us this. Herodotus concludes, and I quote, Herodotus, I think that if it be true that the Phoenicians carried off the holy woman and sold them for slaves, afterwards while undergoing servitude in these parts, she built under a real oak, a temple. I can go on, but I just want y'all to catch a precedent. Remember when I talk about stolen legacy? When Greek history is nothing but Egyptian stolen history by George G.M. James? For example, during the coming of one of the future cycles, it was, they say, Plato, who later revealed the secret that at Delphi there was an ancient secret prophecy concerning the birth of a son of Apollo or Osiris or Horus, who was to be one to restore the reign of justice and virtue on earth. Remember, I told y'all the ancient historian Godfrey Higgins claimed that these Sybil prophecies were actually referring to either the Black Buddha, the Gautama Buddha, or the Black Krishna, or Krishna, the Black Cresna, or Krishna, because y'all remember the whole thing that J. Edgar Hoover wanted to do was what? The death of the Black Messiah. See, I love my Islamic brothers. No disrespect to no one. But listen, my prophet and angel, I know who it is. I'm not dissing no one. But when you come and say somebody that don't look like you is your liberator to tell you who you are, I'm not rocking with that. Or both, who were actually born on the holy Grecian island of Dodona. At Delphi, it was Cybele, spelled Cybele, later known as Themis, or Artemis, See that, y'all? Wait a minute. I just showed y'all. Here we go. Let's go back. Oh man, hold on. At Delphi, it was Cybele, Cybele, later known as Themis. Artemis, the Black Diana. Who Artemis? What Artemis I showed y'all? In the great events of the Bible times, Artemis. And they whitewashed it in the museums. Here it goes right here. When Paul was on the road to do what? To colonize the Asiatics. They already had their God. Are y'all following me? It's just like in the biblical scriptures when a certain person came to a certain people's land and said that they, at the second time, they came and took their land. Come on, man. You see? Right here. And I'm connecting Bible history for you. It's right in here. Great events of Bible times. We just fact checked it. Let's proceed. At Delphi, it was Cybele, later known as Themis, Artemis, Black Diana. The Sibyls were sized by the Spirit, will fall into possession, causing them to thrash about the ground, uttering message from the gods. More often, it was a divine ancestor expressing his unhappiness with those who were in violation of divine law. You know? By the 11th century CE, Turkish monks and world historian Cernunnos claimed that the Queen of Sheba was a Sibyl. Prior to Egypt's dynasty period, the civil and religious culture of these matriarchal Sibs flourished in the Mediterranean world for more than 6,000 years. For centuries, the Grecian islands at Delos, Dodona, Delphi, and the temple of Mami in Libya were the ecclesiastical and moral hub of religious, social, and international political activity. As the first established sacerdotal African matriarchs, the Sibyl culture and religious impact was arguably the most profound on ancient civilization that history has ever revealed or cared to admit. You know? It's right there, y'all. The Sibyl clans were further divided into Sibs, similar to extended family villages. Research the Amenganis or the Amengases, Amengasie. And these African deities never walked in the flesh. For more than 1,000 years, the sacred islands was free from war, crime, and invasions. Thus, borders were never necessary. Here is where Artemis, Artemis, A-R-T-H-E-M-I-S, Artemis, A-R-T-E-M-I-S, later the Black Diana, was said to have been born next to the sacred lake, along with Isis, Anubis, and Serapis, Serapis. More divinities were added as the African and Elamite Tamil populations increased. The place was covered with holy temples and colossal marble statues of the deities, just like when we talk about those Olmec heads. They were clubs, markets, and palaces. White robes, processions in honor of some deities were always in session, and according to the Horton, they maintained a system of bartering, trading with each other, how we should be doing, in goods, and their trade routes to Palestine, Egypt, Libya, Athens, Corinth, Crete, Papillon, aka Turkey, and others, if a list of which makes a poem, I can go on with the history and what they took out of books and put them, and a lot of them have them in their monuments. And they talk about them behind closed doors. The Libyan Amazonian queen, Penthesilea, Penthesilia, who led her army of warriors against the Greeks during the Trojan War. She was eventually killed by Achilles, who allegedly found her beauty so irresistible that he sexually seduced her dead body. That's what the science says. Often referred in Western history as mythological figures, or as European, the ancient black Amazon, Amma equals mother, Zan equals son, mother of the sun people, were historic, and they were African. The oldest militia were probably the Ethiopians, Egypto-Libyans, Scythians, and the ancient Colesians of Colesis, of Colchis, in what is now southern Russia. However, large garrisons of the Amazons were scattered all throughout the ancient world, including the Caucasus, Albania, Athens, India, Armenia, Bothnia, which is central Greece, Atlantis, Asia, and even North America. The Amazons were known under many names: the Azones, the Azones, the Alzones, the Alazones, Syri, Syri, Assyriel, Assyrii, Chaldea or Chaldea, Chaldei, Mori, Mauri, Chalybes, Chalybes, They were the original shock troops fighting in defense of the ancient temples and kingdoms of the black matriarchs, which is the mother right, which dominated the ancient world. It was the black Amazons who were the first to domesticate and to ride chariots and horses where the Greeks did not. They were the first to employ cavalry, and the superior weaponry was made of iron. We were the first ones to have that gunpowder or use the fire stick when the Greeks were still using bronze. You know, I'm gonna show y'all a figure. This figure 7, Greek vase of ancestral totemic ritual mask of black Libyan Amazon who settled in ancient Crete and Athens more than 3,000 years before the Greeks. The mask represents the powerful talismanic spirit of their founding ancestors, known by many names, including Medusa, Sathina, and Uriel. Walter P. on page 349. They were the first initiates of the African huntress, mommy goddess, known as Athena, Minerva, and Artemis, known as the Mask of Gorgon. It was worn only by the queen Amazon, motheress, generals. It was the main source of spiritual power, physical strength, and maternal wisdom. And when worn during battle or ceremonial ritual, it evoked paralyzing fear into the hearts of the Greeks and Spartan soldiers. It will literally freeze them to death in their tracks, which is where the myth turning men to pillars of stone originated. Historians tried to diminish the black color of these ancient Greek vase depictions as black lacquer art, but history has proved that the color is based on accurate accounts of the Amazons as blacks and Africans. See the pictures? See the pictures? The Greeks bitterly referred to them as man-murdering, man-hating, flesh-devouring, and war-lustful, etc., and are directly responsible for many of the lies and myths circulating as history about them today, far from being a hostile contingent of disaffected men-haters. Higgins report that these black Amazons were actually the original followers of the male and female principle on volume 1, page 507, and fought to maintain the balance of both, rather than the exclusive rule of patriarchy being advocated by the sun priest of Ammon. So the Amazons were also the actual builders of the ancient temples of Astar, Artemis, Minerva, Black Diana, Demeter, all those, and founded and named all of the cities and provinces in which they settled and erected their temples. The Greeks, who feared and hated the black Amazons, fought vigorously battles against them. One of the most famous battles with these fearless women warriors was the Attica, Attica, in ancient Athens, which ended in a truce. The Greeks, who feared and hated the black Amazons, fought a fierce battle against them. One of the most famous battles with these fearless women warriors was the Attica in ancient Athens, which ended in a truce, y'all. So, as I said that, the commander of the Amazons in the Attica was the black Egyptian queen, Umalophus. I might be pronouncing it wrong, but I can give it to you for you can look it up. It's spelled Eumolphus, who ordered the sacrifices be made to their ancestral manes, deities, by the Athenians on on page 506. A stone pillar exists today in the Amazon, erected to significantly this truce, or to signify this truce. I'm gonna show it to y'all. Because the Greeks could not defeat them. You know? Reports that the Greeks' willingness to go to battle against these black Amazons was used as a measure of their courage, and that they, in facing the Amazons, faced not only their biological aversion against fighting with women, but also their own castration anxiety. You can see the pictures to commemorate the war. All this stuff can be found, but I want to skip through it because I got a little bit more to go. History of the Black Matriarchs Concealed in Euro-Biblical Revisionist History. And African American Christian women knew the untold history behind many of the biblical locations of which they offered their glory. They would be horrified to learn that they were lending a glorious praise to locations where the ancient mothers were murdered and persecuted, and their holy temple seized and converted into Christian churches, and where the African deities were demonized and their veneration and worship ultimately destroyed. Unraveling the mental shackles of Western religious brainwashing affected by colonialism and slavery is one of the few areas many in the diaspora ever dare to challenge. Few realize that even before the dawn of African patriarch, in the oldest story of Genesis, it was Mommy Isis who originally gave birth to the sky, the earth, and to the water divinities. These mythos will later be changed, crediting these events to Osiris and Amun, and then exported into their Egyptian colonies, where the names will be honored in the indigenous vernacular as Zeus, Apollo, and Dionysus. So the Sibyls, who were from wealthy families, were as ruled the most educated, cultured, talented amongst the class. However, the most prophetically powerful and ritually skillful Sibyls could be either literate or not able to read or write. Sound familiar? I'll give you the precedent. The Spirit delighted in those who came from poor and humble backgrounds just as much as those from privileged classes. If they were initiated and raised in the temples, they possessed their own sacred language and other customs. In ancient Sumer, Sumer, which is in your Bible, I just lectured yesterday, and religious people was butthurt. I had one of the college students said, "Man, that was amazing." He was like, "It shows that a lot of the followers that have been following you don't read the Bible." And then I had to block some people because they was on my page with their religious fallacy. And I say, if people want to have arguments, you should create your own page and see how ignorant you look arguing over some things like that. But Sumer in your Bible, the language was called Emisal, Emesal, for the priestess, and the Emerger for the order of male priests, and the Mami Wato Vudan, different Vudan books. On the dialect, this sacred language is known as Vudobi or Vudogbi or Vudogbi. Just like when we talk about in law, a lot of brothers, it's a certain law. A lot of people saying, "What you mean? Pid Latin?" And now they say it's a lot of verbiage in law. Habeas corpus, quid pro quo, Chicago Law Review. It's precedent in law cases, doc number, Free Information Act. It's so much that I know now as a master's student that I didn't know when I was young. And then I went to university and I was able to lecture with prosecutors and attorneys and to do all these cases and things and get all the evidence and defend my plight, and it'd be no rebuttal. And I'm talking about with professors and attorneys and all that. They like, "Man, you should become a lawyer." I said, "I don't want to defend no criminal. They should want me to be what? Your legal advisor. To give you precedent in law cases, doc number, the Free Information Act. Because I'm not going to stop nobody from getting no attorney. But you should want somebody that can help defend you in your best interest. So when you think that attorney that you paid for, that no matter if he win or lose, he's going to get paid, is doing his job, that's your fault. And if he's not doing his job the right way, I'm going to give you precedent in law to show you that what's happening shouldn't be happening." You see what I'm saying? These is facts. If you can't diss a person from having skills or having experience in things, just like when I tell most Moors that's dealing with Moor science and they say they study in Moor science, and I say, "No, you studying some European Roger Elvick sovereign citizen overthrow the government, you going to prison." Or some paradigm group stuff, you going to prison. Because ain't no such thing as a sovereign citizen. We call those paper terrorist militia, and they be in jail next to the European militia army person that want to overthrow the government with all them following them UCC, and this is they land, and they some foreign national, which is an oxymoron. And I'm telling you, and I'm an American. What type of American I am? A Moorish American. What's my race? I told you, Asiatic. What's my status? Free white. I just told you that. If you don't understand that, that's your fault. It ain't no paperwork you have to fill out. The religious laws trump all that. The Declaration of Human Rights trump all the stuff that brothers be talking about. So if we don't want to do things the right way and understand that, then those will be caught with the Titanic. But I just wanted to set a precedent for my brothers and sisters, man, to show us some things that we can look at when I say it's always going to be something that's not right. When you got these sovereign citizen Negroes on the corner saying that this is that, that's not more science. The Moorish Science Temple of America is one of the oldest spiritual, it's supposed to be education houses in the city of Flint on Martin Luther King. Our Noble Drew Ali had never talk about overthrowing no government. We have a divine creed and proclamation. And so when people be coming up with all that stuff you see on TikTok, I just don't know what it is. But what it shows me, brothers and sisters, is that the RICO, brothers that's my age, that's 40 and up, man, this stuff is like the RICO. And everybody is getting caught up in these things, thinking somebody on the internet you met has some secret law or some paperwork that you can get to file. And then I ask you, after you do all that, then what? And Bobby Hemmett already told them what was going to happen. If the European is in trouble for it, what you think what's going to happen to you? You're going to be made example of. If I can show you so many videos of CSI and crime scene investigators of those Europeans doing the same thing that the Negroes doing. They talk about they some sovereign citizens with the feds on. And I can show you a European doing the same thing that you're doing. That tell you is nothing special about what you're doing. That tell you that y'all are the same. Think about it. You're using the same paperwork. Anybody, if you don't understand what I'm saying, just take a second and research and pull up Roger Elvig and the Paradigm Group in Canada. And tell me what you get don't sound the exact same of what's going on. And when you get in trouble, when it all hit the fan, they're going to be all being shipped out of the country and they're going to be mad because they say they're not Americans. So Donald Trump and them ain't going to spend no money on them. They're going to ship their ass to Guantanamo Bay. I'm telling you what's going to happen because all these people saying they're not Americans and they renouncing their citizenship. They talk about they expatriating from this de facto government. Then I ask these retired fardos, well, who do you have citizenship or allegiance with? They say, huh? I say, see, that's the problem. Nobody gonna step up and say nothing. After you take these people classes with this paperwork, what are you trying to get? You trying not to pay child support? You trying to get some welfare? You trying to get what they call it? I'm trying to get my SSI check. What are people doing all that paperwork for? What, you trying to cancel corporate debt? You don't have no corporate debt. You trying to squat in house? Squatters have no rights. What else? What else do a person want to talk about? No one in America, in this world, can nationalize you or denationalize you. It'll change you from the descendant nature of your foremothers and your forefathers. So when we're talking about spirituality and history, we can't change who we are. All through history, the Sibyls, when I show you the Sibyl Queen on the Moor coat of arms, wearing a 6-pointed crown of Mami Tanit, all African queens were Sibyls, but not all Sibyls were queens or prophetess. Look, there it go right there. Right in your face. Right in your face. Right in your face. I mean, it's too much rich history, family, for us to continue to go around and say we nothing. For us to continue, and we adults to go to church and I say, well, what? Are you a child of God? You can't be if you Negro, color, or African American, because God didn't create no slave. God made us in His image and in likeness, if you want to believe in that. According to science and law, black means deaf. Black is an adjective. So when people talk about reparations, a Negro, color, or black or African American would never, ever, ever in their life get reparations. Why? The only people that's going to get reparations for something that's created is the people that created them. You know this. Black is an adjective. Even before some 1866, man, you got in the 1830s when the misnomer freedmen was telling you they wasn't no 14th Amendment Negroes. This is what I'm trying to tell people, where it don't matter what no one else is saying. It don't matter how no one else feel. No one should be able to sit up here and tell you your story, and I'm telling you that's hogwash because peer-reviewed scholarly research tell you something totally different. And if these people profess that they academia or scholars or here to do the good of the people, then they would tell the truth. They would say, "Well, yep, I got a degree in first century history, religion, or all this." Then, if you do, you know what I'm saying is valid because it's peer-reviewed scholarly research. Especially the message to my misnomer black people. When we getting wooed to sleep, talk about some reparations, I sit and have this discussion with misnomer black people. They will not have discussion. But I can have this conversation with my European people. They say, well, your people got to understand this. I say, you can't talk to a people that think they black and then can't explain how they black. And I say, this phone is black. Black is an adjective. Well, more mean black. No, it don't. Negrito mean black in Spanish. Stop lying. Well, more was going to and ain't to. Okay, well, then we are ancient Amazigians then. How about that? Now what? What's the Declaration of Human Rights? Article 15. You have a right of a nationality and a right to change it. And the claim of a child replaces the birth certificate. And no one will be arbitrarily denied of a nationality and a right to change it. So why are we worried about somebody else that called themselves $5 Indians and we're not having a conversation of who we are? Why the hell is a group of people worried about who somebody else is? If that's the case, you're going to take all that time and research and finances to figure out who somebody is that's dressed like you? You ain't figured it out yet? You know, when you can see when history show you what was here in the Americas, when I can get books written by Europeans, one world Tartarians, ancient and modern Britons, when I can get signs and symbols of the primordial man by Albert Churchward, I can get so many first century writers that's going to profess our history. Why we don't teach it? Why it's not taught in our churches? Why every time so-called black history, you see the preachers in some dashikis and talk about slavery, we come from Africa. That ain't true. Do some people come from Africa? Yes. But all misnomer black people didn't come from Africa. The history don't says that. Hell, I just told you the ancient and modern Britons, Russian icons. Come on. You was all over America. In the beginning, the world was black. When people be trying to say, well, you trying to say you were this and that and all that. Yes, I'm trying to say they were everywhere. Bloomberg could tell you that wasn't false with that Caucasus Mountain. Bloomberg, that's all pseudo. And people be butthurt about it. I say not in scholarship because we talked about these things. We've had these discussions. We're able to sit up and have dialogue and say, well, where's the science? When I deal with the Pentateuch, when I deal with the Nag Hammadiyyas, when I deal with the Sephiroths, when I start dealing with all the old textures and the old ancient language, when I start synchronizing the Quran and the Bible, and I say, now who's being made to fool? Because just like J. Edgar Hoover said, it was always the death of the black Messiah. It was always to use religion to X us out. This is a strategy. This is no osmosis when it comes down to the conquering of a people. This is a strategized thing. That's why social media is popular to nigga shit. Excuse my candor. How? Because you see people gravitating to characters. You got older people my age that's a character. And that's what we say popular. We come from a small city of Flint, Michigan, where the water is messed up. The city councilman, you can go in there right now, they arguing like it's love and hip hop. Right now, you can research any city council meetings in the city of Flint. You can be like, man, this is stupid as hell. These Negroes like love and hip hop. It ain't nothing but a popularity contest. That's it. It's nothing happening because look, the water been messed up forever. Where the money? All you got to do is audit the auditor. All you got to do is trace the money. See, and that's the thing. We don't have the right people in position. Why? Because when chaos happens, and everybody is doing something, you can't blame nobody. It's no accountability. That's why I say in the city of Flint, we just want to march or we just want to have a martyr. See, I'm not an activist. I tell people, I don't have a problem with nobody being an activist, but I'm not marching and barking. I'm a solution person. I know we can put our money behind everything instead of giving it to Uncle Sam and don't have to complain about nothing. The same way that the Jewish churches do. We don't got to complain about a damn thing because we all working. We can refer that to the BPT. I can give everybody a tax exempt receipt. I'll buy one of them churches in the city of Flint that's just sitting. We'll turn that to our temple and school and our community center and turn the city out. We'll have martial arts, we'll have painting, we'll have art class, we'll have skilled trades. I'll be training barbers. The barbers will be training young kids. The ladies will be showing kids how to braid. I'll be having herb classes, eating right, library, teaching our kids about the value of a dollar, teaching them how to be self-sufficient, how to be businessmen. So when they graduate from college or they do things as an adult, they don't want to leave the city. As we bind our community, our religious community, that's what I'll be telling my people to do. When people be saying, move back to the city and do what? Boogie? We grown men now. We should be coming together as a brotherhood, taking over our city, saying we can have an impact. We can attack a whole community and change it. This is what I've been telling brothers and sisters. We give all our money away to Uncle Sam and think we're getting a tax return. And I teach this stuff in college. I teach about tax code and about tax exempt status. And I tell people that your taxes is only good for entrepreneurs and business people. People think they're getting a tax return. And I say, how much money have Uncle Sam took out your check and how much return you getting? You don't even know. And that's how the Jewish church and the Catholic churches, that's how they build their community. They use their tax dollars instead of giving it to Uncle Sam, and they get a tax exempt receipt. And that's how they build infrastructure. And that's how they have a religious community. And that's how the religion do things. It's just like when I tell my brothers and sisters that black stuff will get you locked up. You couldn't go confined into a black lawyer, Boogie, if your heart was heavy and you wanted to say something to him. Why? Because he don't have any lawyer and client confidentiality. He's black. And 9 times out of 10, he already been compromised. Especially if he's been financed by the FBI, which is the faith-based initiative. And that's why my professor said, you're gonna need your people. Because I haven't took no oath. I give degrees. I went to the university. I'm not one of the boys that's gonna lie to my people for dollars. I'm saying we can use our tax dollars that we're using right now and build our infrastructure. And we can start in our city of Flint as a blueprint. You know? I can show people how to buy the houses in our neighborhood, and that'd be our religious community. And the people that know how to do that work, they fix them. And we make people homeowners. That's how. We have our young brothers and sisters building up, loving on each other with skills. We using our money that we just throwing away to build infrastructure. That's the only way it can happen. And so, but we have to understand who we are spiritually, historically, and financially. And that's what I went to the university to investigate. And I came out as an educator, as a scholar. I came out with gold cords. And this is what I'm telling my people. I can't be that crazy and asinine if I graduated from Clear University in Howell, Michigan, where the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan stay. That's under the Quran. And when they saw me, they bowed down. They was like, okay, we just gotta let us know when you in the city, where you could be escorted. If I start naming names, I say, well, they're under the Quran. I share this to all my people. Clear University is one of the hardest business universities that I've heard of, because you got to do a capstone after every class. And then I got my dual master's degree in first century history and religion and Christian leadership and linguistics from Grand Canyon University. And then I'm home study in divine ministry in IDMR. You know how certain sects have their own schooling and discipline? You know? But I've also chose to go to the university. That was my choice. Do that make me better than anyone on here? Absolutely not. Do that make me know more than you or something that you can easily research? No, because I didn't write nothing. But what it does, it shows the ability that we have. It shows the research that we do. It shows the investigation that we should do as scholars and truth seekers, the same way people did back in the so-called ancient days. They was always trying to figure out who they were and who God was. So why are we going to let somebody else tell us that? And I have the same education and the degrees, and I'm telling my brothers and sisters, we can do magnanimous work. We can do just what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali did. We can do what Dr. Kinley did. We can do what Father Divine. We can do what any of God men did. Clarence X, the Black Hitler of Harlem. Who else? Dr. York. Even those brothers that's done good for people. I'm not saying whatever else they done, but the uplifting for the people can be done in the right way. Brothers and sisters, I don't like to talk about certain individuals, but it be brought to me when they said she. An individual came to y'all city of Flint and talked about a school he'll never make. And these are Europeans. They laugh. I graduated from Clear University with a lady that write for the M Live, where she used to. I don't know if she still does. And she said, when you come to Flint, why don't you seek us out so we can do a big article on you? And I said, well, I don't know. You know, she said, but all this stuff you did, she's like, there ain't nobody from the city of Flint that done this. She said, they don't invite you to the churches or to their conferences and talk to these kids. I say, well, yeah, Clear University do. And the brotherhood that I've met, different Europeans, because they deal with wisdom, but no. This is what I be telling people. I said, no, bro. And so what I'm saying, until we understand and accept it, until we start investigating who we are, until we start saying that's not what that says, until we start looking at our history and our culture, and then using our finances to build something instead of letting people tell us what to do with our money. As I break history and things down and say, this is what you can do with your finances and get a tax-exempt receipt, hold me accountable. Because I don't want to take our kids out of school. I want our kids to deal with all nationalities. I want to give them a place after school called 7th hour. I want to give the kids a place when the kids out of school in the summer and the parents still have to work. You know, they can have like summer school. I already know how to do this. I already know how to get the kids fed through organizations. And then if the people donating, we can do so much on our own. And all people got to do is get a tax-exempt receipt. And that's how we build infrastructure, just like the European Jews. Just like anybody else. We don't have to beg no one for no money, because nobody's going to give us any money to teach us, y'all. No government body of people is going to give the misnomer black people to educate themselves. But they will give it to misnomer black preachers to teach that faith-based initiative, to teach government mandate religion and history. You know? And that's what I'm telling the people. That's why we have the right to do these things. The religious laws is so prophetic in America. That's why I'm glad to be an American. That's why I tell Morris, why don't you want to be an American? Tell me, why don't you want to be a Moorish American? An American. But I'm a Moorish American. But why wouldn't you want to be an American, brothers and sisters? Tell me why. Why would you want to expatriate from some de facto government? When you expatriate, who you have affiliates with, you're not no citizen or affiliate with no other country. None of these people that's riding around here talk about they some Moroccan national, some foreign national, or I'm some Indian. That's not more science, because our prophet said none of those names are, how can I say, we're being in general, but we be specific. Those are not specific names. We never use those type of names. And this is what I want to tell people. We got to get off of thinking we can file some paperwork out, or we have to stop being afraid to be resurrected under the right science as a people, and then give everything back to Caesar per se. You know, give everything back, because the story, it don't go how people saying. History, law, and civics don't go how a lot of our melanated brothers and sisters is saying. I bet you they would not stand up in a court of law with that stuff they telling y'all. Listen to this, y'all, as I leave. How can you say none of this stuff pertain to you, then go to the courts to try to use the same law to defend yourself with things that you say don't pertain to you? That shows that you crazy. That shows that you insanity. I'm telling y'all, it shows that you insanity. What are people trying to do filling paperwork out? Well, like, what do you think you're getting ready to get? Like, I don't understand what people think they're getting ready to get as they talk about they're getting ready to file some paperwork as they work in a job every day. And then they don't even want to say nothing. And then I ask these brothers, where are you getting this from? Because it's a plethora of people on TikTok talking that same nonsense. It's all through TikTok, all through. And I'll be laughing. And I bet you none of them will come on my page with that. And I'm telling y'all, man, I just feel sorry for a lot of people that's gullible. I really do. Because if that was something special, and I just told y'all that come from Roger Elvick, a European, that's not nothing special for no misnomer black person or no more stuff. That clearly tell you that's some European militia overthrowing the government stuff. How? Because a European doing the same thing. That's why. Come on, people. Come on. Come on. Come on. I just explained it. It shouldn't even be a conversation anymore. I'm going to keep reiterating this over and over and over because I'm telling y'all, it still hasn't clicked on that you can go on TikTok and find all these individuals sitting in their car or somewhere telling you that they got some by their program or by their class to do this, to fill this UCC out. Or then they say, well, you're doing it wrong. You got to do this, you got to fill this out, and you got to put this on the bottom. Like, filling it out to do what? Is what I'm asking you. Fill out to do what? To get what? To do what? To find what? Like, it's some rainbow, some Lucky Charms at the end of the rainbow that you think you finna magically get something. It's nothing there, family, but trouble. And your freedom being lost. I be asking people, ask me anything. Ask any of these people that's telling you to do this, show you the proof what they done, and show you the precedent of law and what is done for them. And then you tell me what do you think it'll do for you? That's what I'll be opening my panel for people. Say, what do you think all that stuff would do for you, but to get you in trouble and get you harassed? Especially in your city, no matter where you in, it's going to get you harassed. And then if you're doing things, if you have a job, you're going to get walked out your job because certain places have the right to work state. And if you on the internet talk about overthrowing the government, you will be walked out your job. Why? Because we want to. If you living with a girl and your girlfriend on welfare or Section 8 and you on the internet talk about overthrowing the government and you in her house, we'll just cut her welfare off. Let's see you making videos again talk about overthrowing the government. I bet you shut up then. Why? Because we going to cut her Section 8 off and her food stamps because you eating all the kids' gummy bears. And you using the food stamps to eat the food. But you on the internet talk about the government this and it's your land. How? And the lady you dealing with on welfare, on food stamps, and her rent $13. I mean, and I don't be trying to joke or nothing. I'll be telling the truth. I don't have to say names. I say we can't deal with a whole bunch of people that's stupid and people that's retarded and a lot of people that just fresh out of prison or ex-military people that's mad at America. That's only one type, and that's a delusional type. It's a plethora of Moors that's righteous. It's a plethora, and I'm one of them. My Mufti's one of them. It's other Moors that's righteous. But a lot of these brothers has got caught up, with this paperwork, this paper terrorist stuff. And Bobby Hemmett told them that these Negroes going to jail. And the ones that's doing it are agents. I told people that already. You are paper terrorists, foreign and abroad. These are going to overthrow the government. And people, and you don't see that? You are making a paper trail for yourself. A paper trail. You will be a domestic terrorist, foreign and abroad. You doing all this, but what about your wife? And what about your kids? You ain't even thought for a minute? You only thinking about yourself. And then after these people that do this, that don't have nothing, that don't have nothing to offer to society or never did nothing, what do they think they're gonna get, family? What do brothers think they gonna get after you fill out all this paperwork? What do you think you're finna get? I wait. I seen a dude on the internet with a badge talk about this is our badge. Talk about more, this is our badge. I said, what in the hell do you think a badge going to do? What a badge going to do is get you beat up imitating certain officials. Just like them people be talking about they Moroccan generals. That's all that's going to get you. It's going to get you beat the hell up. None of that stuff work. The person that we all call the Grand Sheik or whatever, man, I can show y'all what happens to these people. Come on, man. We should be way past this. I'm going to keep talking about it. Spirituality and history, because at first they started talking about the Zodiacus, y'all. Research what the Zodiacus is. They started talking about the woman, and then that conscious community crap came out. And then you had people talk about they could nationalize you. How can somebody nationalize you that you met on the internet? And this is only for dumb black people. Because if you want to do that, nationalize yourself. Just think about that for 1 second. If anybody that you met on the internet say, oh, I can nationalize you and make you some travel ID, why don't you just make your own? This is our flag. No, make your own flag. Your flag is just as good as theirs. Oh, it's a certain paperwork. No, use your own paperwork. Oh, this is the seal. Get your own seal. I can show you any goddamn seal you want. You can put anything on it. Mickey Mouse, you got Nova Giraffe, whatever you want. It don't mean nothing. What we talking about? And these people, it's all fictitious. None of these people is no officials, no Moroccan generals, because who elected them or selected them? Zero. And most of them are not from the Moorish Science Temple of America, because if they would, they'd be saying the same thing I'm saying. I'll pull out, we have a divine creed, and a proclamation. All the rest of this stuff, this all fileless paperwork, you got to tell where it came from, which none of these people would not. But I know a whole bunch of videos that you can see these people promulgating this stuff. I know a whole bunch of TikTok videos that you can see people promulgating this stuff. And I tell people there ain't no such thing as a sovereign citizen. That's an oxymoron. Then they try to say, we ain't no sovereign citizen. Well, what you say? You a foreign national? That's a criminal too. What else you say? What else you want to say? You want to expatriate from the de facto government? Criminal. What else you want to say? You want to file some UCC? Well, okay, you a militia. What? You want to overthrow the government? So what you, it's nothing to talk about, brothers and sisters. Our people are lost due to a lack of knowledge because we refuse to learn. But I love all my brothers and sisters. I love all my so-called Muslim brothers that's lost and still act like they gangsters. I love all my Hebrew Israelites. When I say Hebrew, it's just the act. An act don't change who you are. I love my so-called black Muslim brothers, but black has no standing in law. And even my Masonic brothers, I don't understand that black stuff and that secret stuff of that haram abif, y'all know it's not right because you wear the fez in secret and your tassel pinned down. None of that stuff is right. I love my brothers in Greek fraternities, but it's no such thing as a Greek God. Steve Coakley told y'all that. You know, the Greek is a fraud. And George G.M. James, Stolen Legacy. This is no disrespect. We have to love ourselves and stand strong, and we don't have to be worried about nobody teaching our history. Because I already done been through the fire. And that's what I'm telling our brothers and sisters. Hell, I already been through ministry. We have to know our history and our culture, and our spirituality, and they go hand in hand. And once we understand what we're doing with our dollars, y'all, we can do the same work that anybody else is doing, and we don't have to complain about nothing. Everybody get a taxes and receipt. We can have our own temple and school. We can have our own library. We can teach martial arts. We can teach health and wellness. We can teach skills that people can take and bring back to their community, and our kids don't have to stay away when they learn some skills. They can engulf in our community. That's what this is about. And we can support something that's real while we just giving our money away to Uncle Sam, and others is using our funds to educate their children. And so I just want to say gratitude to everybody taking time to listen to me for a minute. But I'm saying, man, I just don't want to get to the day where my education and the work that I put in and the wisdom that I've gathered, it only be for those that's in academia or those that's in other spiritual houses except for my melanated people, and they won't get it. You know, that's the thing that I really don't want to happen if my flesh be gone before anybody's. Because I've written a plethora of books that all my European Jewish colleagues have, all my alumni have, professors have it at a lot of universities out here. And I wanted to put it in my people's hands. I also have a library, and I would like my brothers and sisters to come to Sunday school, adapt class, donate, ask me questions, and I'll give you a taxes and receipt. The same way that brother said he was going to open a school and he come to our city and they collect money and leave is the same way my brothers and sisters can hold me accountable. And we can buy a building in the city, and we can have infrastructure, and the money that we're raising, that's operation costs. And we can have our own. We don't have to be letting nobody come in and extract nothing, and we giving these people money and leaving. And we don't have nothing to claim for it. Even when you go to church, you paying taxes twice. You donate to the church, and the pastor don't even give you a taxes and receipt. This is what we can do in our community. Hold me accountable. This is what I'm saying, people. We can do this. We don't got to depend on no politician or no mayor or no governor. It's enough of us to do our own thing. And the religious laws trump all that. That's what I'm telling y'all, man. We are electric. So I love y'all, man. Thank y'all for taking time out y'all day. But our divine creed, our nationality, and our spirituality, and our finances go together. We can't be afraid of our history and our culture. And when people be coming to you talk about, oh, this is a cult. Yes, everything is a cult. It's a culture. If you're a Christian, that's a cult. But then they won't tell you that Christian, the etymology of Christian is Cretan. Everything is a form of culture. A basketball team is a form of cult. It's a culture. It's a certain way things are done. Your family is a cult, aka your coat of arms, your family crest. It's a way of things you do things. Us being Moorish, our culture is a way we wear our fez, our turban, our holy days. We have sheiks. We have those supposed to be educators like myself, anointed and consecrated, that been through the fire. That's not just no, I went to prison or I'm an ex-military and I hate the government on the internet just talking a whole bunch of stupid stuff, paper terrorist stuff. We're not doing with that, man. Because all that's going to do for everybody on here is they're going to go to jail. And everybody know I'm telling the truth. So I love y'all. Thank y'all for taking time out y'all day. And we're going to continue to build and build and build. But as I close, you have the Toledo Orthodox faith. You have our Santeria, our Orisha. You have the Mordine, Sheikh Bamboo Falls. You have Credo Matua. It's so much ancient history that we have that we can't just let a person whitewash our history. And then I showed you the last thing that I told you, I showed y'all right in here in the Sibyls, how what did they do in the Christian book as I close, when they say the woman is not this and that. Right here in the Sibyls, how in the Christian book, how they whitewash the god Artemis, right in our face. So when we come with that stuff and we let people diss our women, especially that Southern Baptist stuff, when they talk about the women don't have no place in the church, we know where that come from. That's why they don't want to talk about Ruth the Moabitess and Tamir. We don't want to deal with those male. That ain't in our culture. In our culture, the male and the woman and the child sits on the throne together. That's what our culture is. Our culture ain't no male. This ain't no Greek mythology. When you see all that Catholic stuff and you see all those monuments and you see the little baby on the priest, on their private parts, and they say that's grooming in their culture, that ain't our culture. Just like in other culture, when you got these so-called churches and they call themselves grooming the young preacher, when they already call themselves prophets and nobody want to say nothing about the sick stuff. That's why I be telling y'all, man, truth has no size. So let's deal with it. Let's keep going forward. And please, man, let's stand up and arise. Peace.